Good evening and welcome to the oliveboard platform. My name is Marut Sharma and I'm here to inform you about the current developments regarding the SSC reforms, right? So for the last few months, I would say there is a development which has been going on, like a student reform or a revolution which is being going on, where they have been demanding changes from the from SSC side for regarding the conduction of the examination, regarding the allotment of marks, regarding the release of the answer keys, regarding the compilation of result, regarding the normalization which is happening. And a lot of students are feeling constantly that there is some negativity associated and they are being denied of their rights. That is the narrative, that is the feeling. And pertaining to the same, a few institutes and teachers have come together and with some students, and this is going on that they have challenged a lot of aspects of how the SSC examinations are being conducted and how we need improvements in the same. That is what SSC reforms is all about. So yesterday there was a big development which had happened. A lot of teachers had gone to the SSC headquarters, and then students started adding up to the numbers, and SSC, they had gone for a discussion, a one-on-one discussion, a tete-a-tete with the SSC chairman, and then they were given time, they were allotted time, they went, had a meeting, and I'll discuss with you in this very session that what exactly was demanded by the students, what demands were heard, and what was the response given by the SSC chairman, and also a compilation of what extra thing is coming in between and what can be a reality within it. What we are actually turning a blind eye towards, what we are just accepting, what we are being served, right? So that there has to be a clear differentiation here. We need to understand what is right, what is wrong, what is needed, what is not needed, what is unnecessary, what is pompous, and what actually is required to bring changes, to bring a positive change so that everybody is benefited, right? So this video is going to be all about that. SSC Reforms CGL 2025. Now the major demands which the students were making, was that the mains examination should be in a single shift. It should not be conducted in multiple shifts, because then there is a difference of level in the shifts, and the mains examinations actually decides whether you are qualified, whether you are able to get that job or not. So if there is a change in level of the questions, even if normalization comes into picture, it creates a huge gap, a humongous gap, and that is the primary pain point of students. They want the mains examinations to be conducted in a single shift, right? The second demand was that there should be no incorrect question in the question paper whatsoever, at least not at an examination which is being conducted at the mains level, where lakhs of students are enrolling and sitting for the same. So this is a very legitimate demand, I believe, that there should not be any incorrect questions. Though I have been teaching in multiple competitive examinations so far, and I've always seen that there usually is an error of, let's say, one question or at max two questions in a set, and that a lot of people feel that that error is less of a human error or a machine error and more of a deliberate error, and because that is placed into in that location, so that, see, the examiner, the competitive examinations is a very common fact that they are set not to select you but to reject you. So they know that where the students will end up wasting their time, where the nervousness of the students will rise, and they will end up making mistakes in the questions which will follow. So a very common question, they'll make some error, you will spend some time there, and then you'll end up making an error. And that is not going to be in every set, that is not going to be in every section. It might randomly occur in one question in a complete set, at max two, but that is very rare. That is seen in almost any competitive examination. I have been a part of many, and I know this for a fact. But getting 19 questions incorrect in two sets was too much, right? So that is why they are demanding there should be no incorrect questions whatsoever. And the next demand was that the final answer key should be released before the result, so that we are well aware about what exactly is going to happen, what has been transpired, and what exactly has come up. And there should be a provision of wait list. See, there are examinations in a country where wait lists do exist. That is, after selection of a certain students, right? So they close the criteria, and after that they have a wait list of certain percentage. Let's say 10% students are waiting. So what happens is, out of these students, if somebody does not turn up for the document verification or decides to not take up the seat, then the percentage students from the wait list, the top percentage of those students will be selected to fill up those seats according to their merit, right? That gives a chance, an extra additional chance to people who are actually deserving and who just missed by a very close mark. Okay, and also takes care that the seats are not wasted, right? So this also created an issue about repeaters, people who have already procured a job from a previous SSC examination, but they are looking for improvement. So they may be already maybe a student of they may already be an officer at, let's say, a grade pay of 4200 or 2400, and they want to improve to 4600 or maybe more. So they are repeatedly giving the examination. Now that they know how to crack the examination, they are well aware of the syllabus, they are well aware of everything, and they have that job security in their head already. So their plan B, their safety net is ready. Their approach towards the competitive exam changes a lot, and that a lot of students fear that creates a one-sided competition. And then when they choose that seat, they actually end up leaving the job which could have been given to somebody who actually wanted to settle there and then, did not want to improve. That is one of the primary debates which is going on right now, right? So again, here also you can speak for or against, because the repeaters also have the right to give the examination, but how much, for how long? So there have been requests to curb this either by limiting the number of attempts like it happens in UPSC, or there is another thing which is coming up by a lot of students. I'm just telling you what students are demanding because I'm reading this across the platforms. Some students are demanding that there should be a provision that if a student has cracked a job from SSC, the person should not be allowed to give another SSC examination for 3 years at least before his age limit, right? So that is another option which is going on. This is another student demand. And the last one is a very legitimate demand, I believe, that there should be quality systems in place at the IT centers. Wherever we are going to give our examination, our CBT, our computer-based tests, we need to have quality systems there. Good running mouse, running keyboards, running monitors, everything should be perfectly in mint condition. Otherwise, what happens is that, you end up losing a lot of your time and confidence. There is last moment panic if your system stops working immediately, suddenly in the middle of your paper. And there is a lot of time loss, and it has happened in the past that students have written, big emails, and they have given applications to SSC for reconduction of their examination because they lost 10 minutes at the center, the invigilator did not allow, whatever. So this is also a problem, and this is a serious problem. It is not a joke. So these are the top 5. There were other demands also, but top 5, these are the demands which were being made by the students across platforms for reforms to be peace lover, not yet. There is no news of that as yet. I'll discuss that also with you, don't worry. Now, what was promised? Yesterday after the meeting happened with the SSC chairman, the SSC chairman promised a few things. So against this, the mains exam will be in one shift. It was promised. It was accepted that yes, this can be done. We can conduct the mains exam in one shift. For no incorrect questions, they said that we can change the level of difficulty of the exam as well, because that is also required. And for that, they have suggested, or they have rather accepted, that we need to do one thing, that is we need to change the vendor. Probably incorrect questions are being, they are blaming it on the vendor. The chairman has said that the vendor themselves are setting incorrect questions, and that they are not taking responsibility. So we'll change the vendor, who will also change the difficulty level of the examination, and will set it according to the at par the level of the examination. So if it is an MTS exam, the question should be on the level of matriculation. If it's a CHSL examination, a higher secondary level. If it is a CGL examination, graduate level. So they want it this way. Unfortunately, now it's totally in a reverse direction, right? So this is what was replied for that. About the final answer key being released before the result, there was nothing concrete which was mentioned. Then for waitlist and repeaters, so for the repeaters issue, they said that what we can do is, for the seat wastage problem, there can be a solution where the CGL is conducted before, then the results are released. So those who are actually wanting the job for CGL, they stay there. Then the CHSL examination is conducted and the result is released. Now those who have cleared the CGL already will stay here. Okay. Those who have not cleared the CGL and are actually looking for a job in CHSL might attempt this one and then this one. This is the order. But when I went through this, even if you read this for 5, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, you will find some fault in it, right? See, the problem is, in the same year, a student is taking a CHSL seat and then giving CGL again. But what if the same person does it the next year? It's one and the same thing, right? So this cycle will keep on repeating. So the order of exam and result might might reduce the problem up to an extent, but cannot be a extremely valid course of action. Okay. And as far as the quality systems are concerned, there was a promise that they will be providing. So there was a promise of spare systems, like maybe spare keyboards, spare monitors, or spare whole setup systems, some extra systems, so that even if one or two goes wrong, there can be rearrangements and immediate conduction, smooth conduction of the examination should continue. For this also, there was a vendor change which was proposed, right? This is what is being claimed by those who met the chairman. Now I'll tell you what is this, what is the buzz about the vendor change. What is the buzz about the, I'll tell you, Arun, I'll come to that. What is the buzz about the vendor change? Now when I talk about the vendor change, vendor means there are two major aspects of a vendor with SSC. Okay, two major aspects of a vendor with SSC. That is, the vendor is a person who is setting your questions, your question papers, extreme, all the questions, everything, the difficulty level, etc. Everything is taken care of by the vendor. This is one major aspect of a vendor. The other major aspect is the vendor is conducting the examination. So the third one is they provide the software also, but I have not mentioned that because that is not relevant. So the second major aspect is they are conducting the examination at the center. So they are providing centers, they are having tie-ups with centers, they are giving you, allotting roll numbers there. Everything is being taken care of. So these are the two major aspects of any vendor. So far, TCS has been taken care of both these things. Though there was a bifurcation at maybe 2 years back, there was a bifurcation. They had requested, they had broken it down into two categories and had expected that there will be a separate vendor for each category. But that could not be materialized, and it is still TCS who is taking care of this. Now here, before we jump to the main question, is vendor change connected to these reforms? Is what is the main problem here? Is what is the main assumption which the students are drawing, that okay, there has been some big reform which has happened, and now finally the vendor change has been announced immediately. Apparently, if you look at the history, last year also, I think 15 days, 20 days or a month before the examination, I would believe, or a month and 2 months before the examination, there was a buzz about vendors being changed because SSC, I might not be visible because there's a light cut, but don't worry, I am still live here. So there was a buzz around SSC trying to, SSC opening tenders for a vendor change. That did materialize up to a level, but it was cancelled, it was called off, and TCS was extended for another year. Now technically, these vendors are for a maximum period of 5 years, including extensions, they can be employed. Despite that, 2018 was when TCS started, so technically it has already been 6 years, right? So this is this is an appropriate time when the vendor had to change, even if the reforms were not coming into picture, even if things were not, even if there was no revolution of sorts, the vendor probably had to change now. Now the biggest question which arises from this is, how will it affect us? Number one, is the date going to change? So in 2018, when the vendor was changed and TCS came into picture, the dates changed with a very huge margin. So obviously, if the vendor is going to change now, maybe 3 months into the examination, there will be some change. There will be at least a change of 2-3 months, at least a quarter, it will shift back. But there can be a probability that this year also TCS conducts the examination and then immediately they go for a tender which they will apply from next year onwards. Maybe, though the probabilities are quite less because now the buzz is a lot, and maybe they're expecting to get a tender out and a vendor in as soon as possible, right? So there are bids around it and there are names floating around, but I'm not sure they are going to finalize a name which might be controversial. I'm sure a lot of you know about what I'm talking about. I don't want to take names here. Yes, so this is one aspect. The other aspect is, what about the relevance of PYQs? The relevance of PYQs. Now, if I'm not sure whether I'm sure a lot of you were not those students who had given your examinations toward 2018 or before, but I have seen those students, I have mentored such students. I have seen the questions which were asked in 2015, 2016. The level of questions were quite good, right? But the format, the types were absolutely similar. There was no difference in the types of questions. If there was a question in logical reasoning on syllogism, it is still being asked in the same way. If there was a question on logical reasoning on coding decoding, it is still being asked in the same way. If there was a question of mensuration, it is still being asked in the same way. Arithmetic, still being asked in the same way. English, still being asked in the same way. The level is changing because of the vendor. Most probably that is what can be expected, and there also you cannot expect this to raise to maybe a CAT level or MBA level or some other level. Level is going to be somewhat at par, maybe plus one, -1, that's it, right? But the syllabus is going to remain the same. The topics are going to remain the same. There is not going to be any change as far as your studies are concerned, and there is not going to be any change as far as the type of questions are asked. Maybe there might be a mixture of them, but the types more or less are going to remain the same. So what is the relevance of PYQs? The relevance of PYQs for repeat, I think, is almost eliminated now. So for the last few years, a notion was built that TCS often repeats questions as it is, ditto, without changing data. That might not happen anymore, because if the vendor changes, they are not going to pick up questions from TCS or from the previous year questions, because the banks are going to change. But for practice, they are still a valid source. So if somebody is going through a PYQ course, a PYQ syllabus, a PYQ series, or if you are referring to previous year questions, please refer with two things in mind. Number one, these were how questions have been asked in the past, and for practice, this is what is required. This is the level of the examination which I can expect, but +-1 is always advisable. So that is what you need to keep in mind. I hope that answers all your questions, guys. Janardhan, there's no change in the notification date as of now, but let's see. No, there is no update, Anirudh, about the final answer key coming before post preference, because they have not given any concrete word about that. This went blank. This point of the reform went blank. There are a lot of points here. I have only taken the top 5 most important points. There were a lot of points mentioned in the reforms, but against which the chairman has given these informations or these replies only. No, Rohit, again, this says nothing has been promised that whether they will start from 2025 only or whether they will be applicable from 2026 onwards or whatever. But 2024, one truth for sure, 2024 is gone, right? I know it's hard for a lot of students. Trust me, I have been there. A lot of students are telling us that, stop celebrating results and all. We are going through a lot. See, misery is a part of everybody's life. Even those who have selected today, they have gone through this negativity in the past, right? So don't let that negative self of yours hold you back. 2024 is gone. Accept that. Grieve, but move on. Okay? Start preparing for 2025 right away. Be in full vigor and absolutely, be positive, be focused. You will be able to crack it. Stop thinking about all these conspiracy theories, right? Whatever is being taken care of is a good thing. You should also be a part of it. I am not refusing for that. I am providing you information here. I am not claiming anything else. But simultaneously, do not lose focus on your preparation, because that is the only thing which is going to guarantee a successful job for you in the future. So 2024 is gone. 2025 is yet to come. We are not sure whether these reforms will actually be applied or not in this year only. Maybe next year onwards, maybe this year also, because these reforms so far have not been promised on paper. They are all verbally said only. They are all verbal promises only, which was just mentioned by the SSC chairman. Maybe going forward, you might see them, being printed in the form of a written notice and coming on the SSC website. This is when you can credibly understand that, okay, this probably can give us a solution for the future. But so far, this is the information which I wanted to share with you, and hopefully it has clarified all your doubts about this. So Srinivas and Komal, if I am assuming, okay, if the vendor changes, then you can expect a delay of at least 2 to 3 months in your examination. Minimum a quarter, that is minimum 3 months. So if your exam was expected somewhere in the month of July, you can expect it somewhere to be in the month of October, September this year, because they would want to conduct it this year and not want to postpone it next year. So Tier 1 would be somewhere in September, October, November this year. Tier 2 would probably be in January, February next year. Probably, okay, I'm just saying if the vendor changes. Everything is materialistic here. Everything depends upon the fact whether these changes are implied or not. And again, about the vendor change, I am reiterating the fact that the vendor change, I feel, probably has got nothing to do with the reforms. It was as it is going to change. So probably because it has already, the time has expired, the time has lapsed, the contract has lapsed, so the vendor might change. So let's wait. Let's wait for any more updates. As soon as I get any other concrete information, I'll come right here on this platform and update all my English medium audience, my students. You have to stay tuned on this channel, right? Subscribe to the oliveboard platform right away and stay tuned for every little bit of information which you require as far as your SSC and railway preparation is concerned. So thank you so much for joining live, guys. I'll take your leave now. If there is anything which you would like to know, you can put it in the chat box. SP I can understand, but ये इसको मैं आपको सजेस्ट करूंगा, इसे जोड़ करके मत देखिए उससे. मेरा कहना यही है कि वेंडर चेंज होने ही वाला था. वैसे भी चांसेस थे कि वेंडर चेंज होता, क्योंकि 6 साल हो चुके हैं, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट टर्मिनेट हो चुका है. So there is a big chance that the vendor was going to change as it is. Maybe the reforms are just being used as a reason for change of the vendor. So don't go that ways. The vendor was any which ways going to change. Okay. And see, even when the vendor changed in 2018, a lot of students were very panicked, but suddenly something so easy happened that they suddenly got very happy. 2018, 2019, there was a huge positive change. Then obviously COVID came. So before that, there were good vacancies and students got through. Okay. So don't worry. Whatever happens, जो भी होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है. यही सोच करके आगे बढ़ो. मेरी आपसे यही सलाह है. No change in exam pattern and syllabus as of now. That is not expected at all, Rohit. From my point of view, I would suggest vendor change can be from the next year only. Why to do it this year? Because only 3 months are left in the examination. I believe it's sufficient time for a vendor to actually, form the questions and everything. Also, the vendor knows already how the exam is being conducted. Also, the vendor now knows what are the fallacies, what are the negativities. So they should rectify that and maybe give them one more chance, one more attempt, because TCS has been one of the, no promotion involved here, but I have seen a lot of competitive examinations. TCS has been one of the vendors where there was no unfair means which was being caught. I am not sure whether it was happening or not, but there was never an unfair means which was caught. There was no cheating incidents which were caused. There was no paper leak incidents which were caused. So that makes this vendor actually one of the most credible ones in the market. Okay. So we are expecting that ways. I think since the exam was in July, let us conduct this examination as it is. And probably from the next year onwards, they should have gone for a vendor change, but they are also bound by contract. So the contract is already expiring. Maybe this is what we expect, but this might not be the truth. This might not be happening. Okay. Bharat, I have already shared it. Expected new exam dates could be anywhere a quarter after what they have scheduled it for now. So they have scheduled it now around July maybe. So it is expected to happen in somewhere in October or later. जी पूर्णिमा जी बताइए बताइए. मैं आपको कॉल की थी, आपने रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं किया. ये I am not sure when was this Purnima. Yeah, Bharat, I have already told you it was in the month of, it is expected to be in the month of October as of now. So this is what I am thinking, that at least a gap of 3 months, at least a gap of a quarter is what is going to push it further. At least minimum, it can be more also. But I think that the SSC would want to conduct this examination this year only, because as it is, it's going to disrupt their complete plan for the year. Yeah, most welcome, most welcome. Okay. So guys, I'll take your leave now. I'll end this session here. I'll see you guys around. You can subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more updates. Thank you so much for staying on the platform. Bye-bye. Namaskar. Jai Hind. So before terminating, I'll answer your questions also. Hema Darshini, I have already discussed this in the session, that PYQs, if you see, as far as the repeat concept is concerned, that whether the PYQs will be repeated or not, then that concept is totally removed. If TCS as a vendor changes, the questions will definitely not be repeated. But for practice, you can definitely stick to it, because the level is going to be more or less the same. Right? Most welcome. And can TCS get the next vendor contract? Yeah, it can. Anirudh, it absolutely can. There is no restriction of the same vendor being repeated. If it bids the lowest, it can still continue. But then it depends upon SSC also. Even if it bids the lowest, if SSC does not want TCS to continue, then it will not choose it. That is the game. Okay. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining. I'll see you around. Take care.